Osaze Uzi, Director of Voter Education for INEC. While we're still on the matter, we run elections in the Federal Capital Territory and Rivers State. And joining me on the program is Mr. Pt.2 Ajijola, the National Coordinator Election Monitor. He's in right now in Ondo State. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ajijola.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Well, with your experience as an election monitor, how prepared do you think INEC is with the having put behind the Bayelsa rerun elections and the Kogi elections, FCT, and then Rivers State, known as a flashpoint over the years when it comes to elections in Nigeria?
Well, from what I have seen so far, I think the Commission is relatively well prepared. It seems that all that needs to be done is being done. And you can see already all the information that needs to be made available to stakeholders has been made. In addition to that, there has been clear improvement in the process through the simultaneous voting and accreditation. Also, you can see the number of staff which are being deployed. It is a bit higher than the ratio we had in the 2015 elections. We have 120,000 polling units with about 600,000 officials, so that gives you about 5 per polling unit. Whereas in this case, you have about 36,335 officials with about 5,000 polling units for FCT and Rivers, which gives you about 7. But of course, if you look at the fact that the simultaneous voting accreditation itself is a combination of voting and accreditation at the same time, so I think that it isn't a bad idea to have 1 or 2 extra staff per polling unit. I think it will improve the quality of the process and it will result in a better outcome. I mean, if you look at the total number of figures, the total turnout, in Rivers we had about 1.4 million votes cast in the general elections, while in FCT we had about 569,000. Now, if you look at the fact that you have about 10,000 ad hoc staff to 569,000 voter turnout for 2015 general elections in the FCT, that gives you about 57 people per ad hoc staff in terms of voters per ad hoc staff, which is not too small. When you say that it's a large, too many officials, I don't think so, because if one person has to handle 57 people, it isn't that easy. And in the case of Rivers, if we follow what we had in the 2015 general elections, we had a turnout of 1.4 million. And comparing that to 26,000 ad hoc staff gives you about 53.8 or 54 people for one person. Once again, it's not easy for one person to handle 54 people. So I don't think that the Commission has engaged too many people. I think they've engaged a good number, and you can never have too many. And also, I think the commitment to improving the process is very clear. And we hope that the security situation will allow the election to go on smoothly, especially in Rivers State. Because if you look at the general elections, Rivers State had, I think, the highest number of incidences of pre-election violence. We were able to monitor about 8 of them, observe 8 of them. So it's quite a hotbed. And if the security agencies play their roles effectively, then I think INEC will be able to deliver properly and effectively in Rivers State.
All right. One other major issue of concern that has come up has been the issue of simultaneous voting and accreditation. You know, some fear that they might end up being disenfranchised. How, at the end of the day, considering the fact that the voting and accreditation process is supposed to commence at 8 and most likely between 2 and 3 p.m., elections should have been tidied up and done with. How, what's your take on this?
No, I think anybody saying it will be disenfranchised is not being sincere. The reason is that even in the old system, when you have to be, accreditation is between 8 and 12:30 or 1 p.m., you have to be in the polling unit between that 8 o'clock and the 1:30 and 1 o'clock. So you have to be there, okay, to do your accreditation. Now, once you finish your accreditation at that time, then the polling officer would now, call for voting, at which point all the voters will be asked to stand on the queue. And one of the security officials will be asked to be the last person on the queue to ensure that no other person joins the queue before the voting will commence. Now, in that system, if you did accreditation, but you did not come back on time for the commencement of voting and you were not on the line, you are not supposed to be part of those that will vote. Okay, but in this system, it's a much freer system to me. In fact, this is even freer because in this system, if it is between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. for simultaneous accreditation and voting, even if you come at 1:59 p.m., you can be accredited and you can vote. Whereas in the old system, once accreditation is over, you cannot vote if you were not accredited. And if you come for voting after the line has been formed, you also cannot vote. But in this case, you can stroll in at 1:59 and 30 seconds and you can still vote. So I think it is not true that it is disenfranchised, and I think this is even more inclusive and more flexible than the other system.
All right,
also,
just before I let you go, Mr. Ajijola, I'd like to find out how well do you think the electoral umpire has fared in the area of sensitization? How many Nigerians in these areas are aware that voting and accreditation is not business as usual, that things have changed? How well do you think INEC has fared?
Yes, I think that is an area that INEC can improve upon in the area of voter education and sensitization. You know, it is something that never ends, especially when you are bringing a new procedure such as this. But as has been said earlier, and as I have personally observed, especially in the Southern Ijaw elections in Bayelsa on the 9th of January this year, despite many of the voters were not aware about the fact that there was going to be simultaneous voting and accreditation, we found out that it didn't really affect them, and many of them didn't receive any major complaints from anybody. In our observations, we didn't find any issues with anyone concerning that process. So while it is good, INEC needs to sensitize more, I agree, but I think because it has not fundamentally changed anything, you have to be at the polling unit by 8 and to 1 before anyway. Now it's 8 till 2. So once you get there, they just tell you the process has been modified a little bit. So I think the best way to sensitize, apart from TV or radio, is even when you just get there, you get experienced. And hopefully, and I'm happy we have these rerun elections because it's giving the opportunity for this simultaneous accreditation of voting to be practiced and to become useful and, you know, accepted across the nation. So by the time we get to 2019, we are sure that most parts of the country, through the either local government, Federal House of Reps, senatorial or governorship elections that are coming up may have, you know, had a taste of this process. So I think that in itself is a form of sensitization.
All right,
so
thank you very much.
There isn't any big deal in that, but I think INEC is trying, but can do much better.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Abiola Ajijola, the National Coordinator Election Monitor, for joining us on the program. While you're still watching Politics Today, so many interesting topics tonight. We'll take a moment, and when we come back, we'll move over to another intriguing subject tonight. Stay with us.
I will never shy away from it. I will always say it. I've never deceived, and I will never deceive. And I will not lie, however the circumstance. At the end of the day, I'm very confident that you will know the truth from this moment on.
Many thanks for staying with us. You're watching Politics Today. Remember, you can share your thoughts on Twitter at CTV Politics, and the hashtag is Politics Today. So many interesting things happening on the political scene. As I promised, another intriguing subject, the Kogi Assembly saga. A situation where 5 hold more sway than the majority in a house constituted of 25. How constitutional is this scenario? Well, only yesterday, Wednesday, March the 2nd, the new factional speaker of the Kogi Assembly, Ahmed Imam, held plenary with 6 other members of the House, and 3 new members were sworn in. The House has even gone ahead and commenced the day-to-day conduct of its affairs at the State Assembly. All this while the impeached and embattled Speaker Jimoh Lawal and a group of his supporters hold court in the nation's capital, Abuja, all still while waiting for the outcome of the report submitted by the House of Representatives committees set up to investigate and hopefully arrive at a solution to the crisis rocking the House.
To do justice to our problem, we are going to solve our problem, and I hope we are going to resume back to carry out our legislative process.
No doubt a great optimism from Honorable Lawal Jimoh at a visit of the House of Representatives Committee, but less than a week after A more interesting scenario is playing out at the Kogi State House of Assembly. With his vehicle parked in front of the Assembly complex, one could guess the Speaker is around. On the inside of the chambers, it's Wednesday morning. 9 lawmakers plus the factional Speaker, Honorable Ahmed Imam, converge on the Assembly complex for legislative duties. 3 of them are newly elected members. First, their inauguration. It is not your usual plenary. Apart from new lawmakers welcomed into the fold, principal officers too are sworn in. The factional Speaker gives his speech. His words are more or less a persuasion for unity.
Colleagues, this House, since its inauguration, has been on turbulent waters. We must, therefore, forgive one another and work as a team. The state is anxiously waiting for us to move forward on its financial programs and activities. Efforts on our part should be geared towards speedy consideration of all legislative businesses pending before the House, particularly the appropriation bill.
For the lawmakers, all appears well, even without the report of the House of Representatives Committee's investigation. The Kogi State House of Assembly is clearly divided, with half of the House absent.
Well, let's quickly hear what one of the newly sworn-in members of the House of Assembly has to say over the saga that's been rocking the Kogi State House of Assembly.
I describe the presence of the House of Rep members as I describe their mission as a mission to bring peace back to the peaceful House of Assembly before in Kogi State. And I'm very sure that their coming is not to come and cause more crisis. But if really there is crisis, it's a good thing for the high authority to come and resolve it, and I think that is what they come for. And on my own side, maybe the House of Assembly in Kogi State is waiting like people, maybe they are waiting like people like us to come so that the crisis in the House can be resolved.
Well, one of the newly sworn-in House of Assembly members in Kogi State, the electoral umpire, INEC, has also gone ahead and issued certificate of returns to 3 new members that got sworn in yesterday. Well, that's our package on the program tonight. It's been a pleasure having your company all the way. I'm Imana Amawe, and on behalf of the entire production crew here at Channels Television Global Headquarters, it's thank you. Bye for now.